Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This is your host, Devin. We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids, but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like. Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood and how they feel like they're holding it together or how they're not. Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on musician Dave Elkins from the band May. We talked about being a single father, how he prioritizes his daughter, how therapy has helped him, how his dad influenced him as a father, life on tour, writing his first album since becoming a dad, co-parenting, and touring the album The Everglow now that it's been out for 20 years. I really appreciate Dave's time for this call. He was extremely eager to talk about how much he cares about being a dad and how much it's made him reflect on himself and grow as a person. We jump right into discussing his relationship with his dad and the complexity of it, and I really appreciate his vulnerability and his honesty. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad.
Like, I've only got one daughter and she's 6, and I've been in this band for over half my life. And so I'm 43. And, with COVID and stuff, nobody was touring back then in 2020, 2021, by and large. So my daughter showed up when I reintroduced myself to the touring life. Soon after she was born, did I start playing shows again? And it was different for everybody on the other side of COVID. So I am a single dad, and that means a whole lot. And so, being on this podcast today speaks directly to the deepest part of love in my heart that I have for my kid. And this is all I've done for my whole adult life as far as a career goes. I don't really, I have plan B's and C's, but it's all music related anyway. Yeah. So it's kind of, the dad thing comes first and foremost. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's fascinating because kind of a big part of this podcast is that I know every single dad loves their kid deeply, is doing stuff every single day because of their love for their kid or their family. But most people don't take the time to be like, hey, I know you love your kid. Do you want to talk about that? And almost every single dad is like, oh my God, it's like someone who finally gets a drink of water after being thirsty for years sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's really true. I beam for her. So and I'm very fortunate in that my dad and mom got married in 1980. Mm-hmm. And my mom was born in 61, and she wasn't quite 19 when she got married. So she's an 18-year-old. My dad was, I think, 19 when he got married. And then I was born in 82, February. And my dad, his dream was to be a lead singer in a band. And he was in bands when he was in high school and then when he got married. Mm-hmm. But he needed to provide for his wife and then his wife and his son. And he got married super young and had a lot of maturity left to do. And my parents divorced by 1983, I believe. So,
okay.
A lot of my decision making when I was 19 and 20, May's first album, Destination Beautiful, came out the night before I turned 21. So I was only 20 years old. I was looking at what my dad did when he was 20 and trying to do almost the polar opposite of that. So I could make my dream my reality, and I could not be distracted with family or relationship responsibilities and bill paying responsibilities, etc. I was in 03 when we first started touring. We played over 300 shows that year. We played over 300 shows in 04 and again in 05. And so touring and being away when I was 20 and 21 and 22 and 23 was something that my dad never opened himself up to have access to, because he started a family and he couldn't do both things. And sadly, both, the dream of his first formed family being his, one and only family, that didn't work. And then he never became by any means, a successful artist and musician. And so I made sure that I wasn't going to miss the opportunity to pursue my passion and have it become my career. And I wasn't going to be a family man and not see my kid, because my parents divorced when I was super young, like I said. And so I got used to the compartmentalized family dynamic, and that became really difficult, even just by having like the kind of visitation I had with my dad living with my mom. I didn't have access to my dad like I wish I did growing up. My dad ended up moving from Virginia, where I'm from, Virginia Beach, to Texas for a number of years. So when I was in like the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, and I only got to spend summers and spring breaks with him. And so my experience as a child needing and craving more time with my dad without him being a musician has made it to where the decisions I made in my life since I, was 19, I didn't become a dad until I was 37. It's been probably the most influential factor in my whole life is how do I not become a dad too soon for the maturity level and the availability and developmenting stages of my own brain, let alone my own career, my own heart. It's meant a lot to me that I, do it the way that I've been able to do it. And someday my daughter will know this, but she was not expected, even though her mom and I were already married for a number of years. She was a beautiful, wonderful surprise, but she wasn't a planned part of our family and our lives. And so even waiting until I'm 37 to become a father, like that didn't happen as other people might expect, especially, being married for almost 10 full years by the time my daughter was born.
It's always fascinating in life whenever you can find out you become who you are. A lot of it's because of, who you absolutely do not want to be is always just a weird thing to have to figure out within yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I love my dad, and my dad and I have a wonderful relationship, but there was a long stretch of time in my 20s where we didn't speak, and a lot of healing needed to happen. He has 4 kids from 3 marriages, and each season has included him being estranged from his kids. Like, we've
Yeah.
talked it out,
Yeah.
and I'm able, as his one and only son and oldest, I'm able to be really honest with him. And
Yeah.
his name is David as well. It's named after him. He was named after his dad, who's also David. But we needed to have like some really long conversations about how messed up, frankly, it was him being my dad and him being my sister's dad and then him being my other 2 sisters from his third marriage, their father, and how we've felt neglected by him in some major ways. So my decision to father my daughter has been very much related to doing the opposite of
Yeah.
what I felt from my father.
Yep. Yep. And I think it's so delicate and so complicated because it's not just like, I hate him, I can't speak, like, or anything like that. It's like, no, no, no. I want to understand, why did you do this? Like, that's the question I would want answered is, how did you end up here? How did we end up in this relationship? Because this isn't what I think a father son relationship should look like. So I'm glad you've gotten to a place in that relationship for your own sake in which you can be honest with him and be like, hey, man, this wasn't cool. And you can hopefully have a helpful or healthy discussion about what that looks like.
Mine's been like also complicated by religion sort of being a part of that dynamic as well, specifically Christianity, and the fact that his father, when my dad, when he was away, when I mentioned, in the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, he was down in Texas pursuing like schooling to become a minister. And so like even his reason for being away from me was like a religious one, if you will. And his uncle, my great uncle, he died a bishop and was a televangelist in the 80s and had a mega church with a bunch of satellite churches all over the world. And so that was also a factor. It's like I
Yeah.
had to heal from my dad. And then, like you said, you don't say like you hate this person. Of course, we're like predisposed to love our parents,
Yeah.
and we're predisposed to believe that they protect and that they love us.
Mhm.
And then if you're throwing in like in the rhetoric of Christianity, like God being the father and then like having an only son
God,
in
yeah.
in Jesus, and then being this person who has one son and he is like very much of the Christian faith, but doesn't show up for his one and only son. It's like, I'm confused. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And where
Yep.
and why and how and etc.
Yeah.
In my 20s, like the whole band thing was like just in the face of what I had not received from my dad. That's
Okay.
how I kind of rebellious re- rebelliously or in rebellion
Yeah.
with rebelliousness, I was pursuing music as a career, like very much, very, very much in the face of my father.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, no, I grew up in a Christian household also, went to like K through
Ah,
8th grade, Lutheran schooling. I'm from the
wow.
Midwest originally. And yeah, I think a lot of people our age are, I mean, deconstruction is a common word for it, but you do reach your
Of course.
20s or 30s and you're just kind of like, what was I taught and how does that line up with the source material? Because I think there's some pretty great dissonance here.
Yep.
And I think everyone reaches a point in which, yeah, like for that example, like, hey, if I'm your only son, I thought that love would look different than it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
How so now I have to take away, because I think there's God and then people's interpretation of God. So to constantly sift through that of who is God and who people have told me God is and who is God really as an entity, it's just like this constant, sometimes daily exhaustive, like, what is this today? What does this look like today? What wound am I still dealing with that I don't even realize I'm dealing with or acting out of right now? You know?
Man, I feel that so strongly. During COVID in 2020, when everybody was sort of being more honest about their mental health
Yeah.
or like the lack of mental health that they were, coming out of the woodwork to share their weaknesses, etc. I went through Music Cares,
Yeah.
and got a significant grant to have talk therapy intensive, and I was
Yeah.
going for like I think 2 hours almost every week for many months,
Yeah.
and I had developed like a strong codependency in all areas of my life that came from being this like kid kind of floating around from family to family, just between my mom's family and my dad's family, but then like having less time with my dad and not wanting to share my emotions, but almost like carry the emotional burden of my dad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I hear you, and I'm so grateful. COVID sucked,
Yep.
and everybody knows that. And I didn't benefit from COVID, like in some financial way or
Mm-hmm.
but I really benefited from being one of those people that felt okay with admitting the brokenness inside of my heart and inside
Yeah.
of my brain that didn't come from COVID, but
Mm-hmm.
came from my childhood and my years of adulting that were influenced by my childhood. I went in there and really excavated and began to understand myself and how growing up kind of like shaped me as an adult. And I needed to find a way to like frankly not be codependent with my own daughter,
Yeah.
where like I needed to show up for her without expecting anything in return and have a
Yeah.
healthy view of what it's like to create a human
Mm-hmm.
and be responsible for that human and be responsible for that human with protection and sheltering while letting her be autonomous as often as possible, but by showing up and giving to her like on this level where just like my dad, her mom and I separated when she was 19 months old, just like my mom and dad separated when I was 19 months old. So it's like, okay, I'm 37 when she's born. I think 39 when we separate, her mom and I.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 21 and I'm not 23, and I've got a lot of life experience in those like 15-ish years that make me additionally unlike my father. But like I had to do that work in order to not repeat some of the mistakes and not create some of the wounds. And it's different too, just like knowing that I'm parenting a little girl and I'm very emotive and expressive. And obviously I'm a musician and a songwriter, and even down to like the genre that they called my band music when it came out in 2003. Like the word emo has been used to describe some of that before, like wearing my heart on my sleeve with my lyrics and stuff. And I love to make sure that I wear my heart on my sleeve for my daughter, and that she doesn't question first of all, who is most important in my life, and that it's unwavering. And so I have this little ritual that I've done with her for a number of years now. She's in between kindergarten and the first grade this summer. And I say, who's my favorite person on the planet? And she'll say, I am. And I'll say, who is my best girl? She'll say, me. And I'll say, who do I love more than you? And she'll say, no one. And, like establishing that when dad's away, if I'm just down the road and it's, the time that she's to have with her mom, or if I'm on tour, if I'm working and we're not together, how does she not doubt her father's love? And how does she not doubt that I'm there for her at any time? If she's sick and she just wants to FaceTime with me, if she's well and she wants to see what I'm up to, thank God for like me being a dad and a musician in 2025, where she can FaceTime me at any time. Like she can look at pictures, I can look at pictures of her when we're apart, and there are all of these number of ways that we can stay in communication that I didn't have when I was her age, and that really makes up for what it feels like to be a single dad and connected to my 6-year-old daughter in 2025. It works as well as it can, and I miss her terribly. And when I drop her off and I go back to my place, and it's still, chaos over there because it's only been 20 minutes since, she was just, finally done creating the chaos. Like sometimes I don't want to put it away right away because I want to feel what it's like to address emotionally being without her. And sometimes I want to frankly hurry up and clean it up so I can kind of not go there. And it's a little bit of everything, but bottom line, I try to feel my feelings and try to respect hers and give her as much autonomy and respect and independence as a 6-year-old girl can have, while trying to protect her heart in every way possible.
Yep. No, I feel that. I know one thing that's really big for like parents these days, or parents our age, is just affirmations. Affirmations didn't exist whenever we were a kid, but like how many parents do a bedtime routine and we're just like, by the way, I want you to say out loud, you're smart, you're intelligent, you are all these things. Because to me, the next generation is always kind of course correcting what the last generation did. I feel like our parents were like, well, of course I love you. Don't you know I love you? And we're like, no, 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 no. You're going to hear those words an obnoxious amount if you're in my house. Like, there's not going to be a doubt of, are you a priority to me? I'm going to use my words to say that because I need you to hear me say it, because I'm still to some extent, you're still dealing with the wounds of not hearing it from your own father or from your own parents. And you don't want to repeat that wound to someone you love.
Oh man, that's so true. When I was on the tail end of that therapy, first of all, my therapist, obviously he was connected to me through Music Cares. So he had a lot of experience working with other musicians based in Nashville, where I live, and is married to a musician. And so I had a whole lot of empathy that he was able, to give to me through that process of therapy. But at the tail end of it, he told me, like, you're going to be able to heal that little boy inside of you by parenting your daughter the way that you deserved to be parented. And so I definitely, my love languages are probably quality time and physical touch. And like my daughter loves to cuddle. And if we're, we had a movie night this weekend, and she said, and I was like, in the kitchen making popcorn for us and like getting things prepped. And I pulled out the sofa bed in the living room so we could, have this whole theater like lounge experience. And she's like, when are you going to come cuddle with me? And it just like, it just melts my heart. And I'm like, that's all I want to do. And it allows me to be present. Besides that quality time and that physical touch, which she shares as well, it's words of affirmation. And so I'm telling her, every weekend when we're together, I'm making it a point to tell her why I'm proud of her and what she's capable of and who she is autonomously. I don't want her to think that like her value comes from my perception or anybody's perception of her, but I want to give her those words.
Yeah.
So she can think them and feel them about herself and know that there are people who absolutely love her for who she is. And yeah, I can't stop. And I'm grateful to just be a single dad of one girl. For me, I get to pour my attention and affection onto her and miss her, tremendously, but miss her solely. And the single dad, the young boy who was the son of a single dad, like all those things, like kind of allow me to just give to her and to heal that boy inside of me with just my relationship to, with her. And so it's just enough for me to handle in a way that like, I want to be as big and as, I don't know, just obvious with my love and my attention and my affection to her. So she never doubts it, never questions it, never wonders about it.
I have 3 kids, and it is different because I can't just go up to Elizabeth and be like, I love you so much. Because then the other 2 look at me and they're like, what about us? Like, it's different. It's not like there's no favoritism between my kids, but it does feel different if like I go up to one, like you can say just to one kid, you don't have to think about like, what's your brother thinking right now? Your brother knows I feel this way about them also. That's not a question in your head at all. And it is different in that world.
Yeah. So how old are yours?
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old daughter, 7-year-old daughter, and almost 4-year-old son.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
I am an only child of the marriage that my mom and dad had, and then my mom had my brother with my stepdad, and then my dad ended up having 3 more daughters through his 2 marriages after the one that he had to my mom. So I both feel like an only child, and I have siblings that I'm very close to.
Yeah.
So I get to feel like all of it a little bit. I get to feel what it's like, like I said, to be an only child in the sense that, my mom and dad only had me while they were together. And I grew up living with my brother, and he's got a daughter who's about to turn 3. And so we get to connect over both being girl dads, and so I've got that. And then my daughter, my sister from my dad's second marriage, she's their only child. And it's kind of funny. My daughter's name is Elise, Elise. We call her Ellie. My sister, she's got one boy who's I think 3 years older than Ellie, or will be 3 years older than Ellie. And his name is Elijah, and they call him Eli.
Cool.
When they hang out, they kind of hang like they're siblings, even though they didn't even meet for the first time until, like my daughter was a couple years old. And so I see this like almost eerie sibling connection that they have when they spend time together. They kind of look like each other. They both have blonde or dirty blonde hair, even though like their parents have dark hair on both sides. So I even get to see how my daughter has a cousin that feels at times like a sibling. And being the oldest, not only sibling, but cousin on both sides of my family, I kind of grew up like being like a big cousin, big brother to everybody around. So kind of have that energy about me. And I think about my daughter in a way that like a big sibling would, a dad would, the oldest cousin would, all those things kind of like wrapped into one.
That's cool. I do also want to make sure to say thank you for being willing to say that you have done therapy and stuff, because I do love normalizing for men that, like, hey, by the way, there's probably some childhood stuff you're living out of. There's some like childhood defense mechanism you're still living into that you don't realize. And like,
Sure.
if you can, like, you need professional help to be able to figure that out. So sorry, as you had said all of that earlier, I was like, oh man, thank you for being willing to say that therapy helped you unlock or move past, understand yourself better. Because I think more men always need to hear that. I know it's becoming more normalized, but like there are some things in your life you need to process that you shouldn't expect yourself to be able to do on.
No doubt. And I had like maybe some false starts. And I think, speaking to my marriage that ended in divorce, I was probably trying to do couples therapy in the past, and then realized that, first of all, like I have like personal understanding, forgiveness, etc. The reality that, some people don't end up staying together for life when they expect to, based on choosing marriage and choosing vows that are supposed to end up in a lifelong partnership. I needed therapy for me, not therapy for me and someone else, in order to kind of identify where I was not seeing myself. I was not seeing my needs, my mistakes, my shortcomings, the way my heart needed to be loved, the way I needed to love myself, the way I needed to find a partner and love a partner well, et cetera, et cetera. And so therapy is by far, second to my daughter, like the best thing that's ever happened to me. Even more so than like turning my passion for music into a career. I would put that third at least.
Yeah. That's I'm glad, because it's, I don't know, I think kind of what you're stating earlier with your daughter is I think regardless of if you realize it or not, most of us walk into a room looking for some purpose or some form of validation. And if
Sure.
you put that on your child of like, you need to validate me, that's never going to be a healthy relationship. So if you can know internally like, hey, here's how I feel valid, here's how I feel like I have purpose for existing today, so you don't farm it out to other people, suddenly your relationships are healthier and you aren't like weirdly reliant on people. And it's good. And it's good to know that, because I think it's easy to push that off on your kid of like, hey, I just worked this job so I could support you. You better appreciate me. And it's like, that kid doesn't understand what the hell any of that means.
Man, you're so right. First of all, I appreciate you saying that. It's really good to always hear as a fellow dad and as a fellow parent, and frankly as a single dad. I think that it's been really important for me to have gone through the years of selfish pursuit of passion and career and not have to choose. I know there's always like a choice that gets made when I say yes to a tour. I think that when I was younger, the way that I've expressed this a couple times to some friends and therapy, I chose these things, like I said earlier, and like almost in spite of my dad, or, in the face of. But now, as a musician who has been self-employed my whole adult life, it allows me to be a father that can just drop everything to be a dad. I never saw that in my 20s as like the secret weapon that I would get to have. Some dads, they get up, they go to work, they come home, they have dinner, they're mentally, physically spent, and their children get like the leftovers. But their dad is there every night, and it gets confused. Well, my dad was always there. Like, I shouldn't feel, this resentment or estranged from my dad. And so me becoming a musician and pursuing this rebelliously as a very young man, it makes it so I call my own shots. I choose my own work hours, and I never work, or I almost never work, when I have my daughter. And when I do, it's almost an opportunity to show her what I do that allows me to be as present with her, and to teach her how to have her own, like, my ceiling is her floor kind of thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to who she's going to become and what she wants to do, who she wants to be. with her career. And, as a human, I want her to see that if, like, she won't let me call it my studio. She calls it our studio. I own a
Really?
studio. Yeah, I own a studio in Nashville, and I've been working at studios since I moved here in 2011, but I've
Okay.
owned my own studio since 2017 October. So it's going on 8 years, and it's awesome. It's a compound. It's got an A room, a B room, a C room, a D room. I've got renters who make it light on me financially, etc. But
Nice.
if I tell her, like, oh baby, I need to go by the studio. If I say I need to go by my studio and pick something up that just, is going to be delivered, I need to meet somebody there. She'll say, you mean our studio? She will. She doesn't skip a beat on that. And I say, yeah, you're right. It's our studio. And I want that. I love that about her, because she wants to be in participation with everything that I'm doing. And I don't want to make her feel like I've got the thing that's me and the thing that's
Yeah.
her, and they're separate. I love that. And I want her to always feel that way. She'll do that about the car that I'm driving right now. I'll say, I need to go get my car. And she'll say, you mean our car? I'm like, okay, yeah,
Okay, fine.
it's,
Cool.
it's our car. If you want it to be our car, it's our car.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell her, but when you turn 16, I'm going to ride shotgun. You're going to drive me around, and I'm going to sip coffee and talk to you, and I'm going to pick what we're listening to. She's like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yes, you are.
So she's not locked into that part of it just yet, but it's fine. She's young,
Yeah, of
but
course. She's
yeah,
6. Yeah.
she's 6 for sure.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Because, yeah, kids like that will always be like, oh, this, like, you buy a cookie and they're like, oh, this is our cookie. And you're like, sure, this is our cookie. So then to try to turn it around on them is always hilarious. If they get a popsicle or something like that, or if, like, they're at a kid's birthday party and they get a piece of cake and you're like, so this is our cake, right? And they're like, this isn't our cake. And I'm like, but that cookie was ours. So why isn't it? And then
Yep.
watch, like, the look of fear in their eyes of like, I have to share my treat. And you're just like, I'm not going to make you do it. I'm just trying to make you aware of other things in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How's her, like, creative energy? If she gets, I'm assuming she goes to the studio with you from time to time. How creative of a kid is she?
Yeah, she's got an incredible imagination, and she's very musical. She has very, very little shame or embarrassment about her. She'll sing in public. She'll sing a song that she's only hearing for the first time, because she's, like, connected to music in a very strong way. She loves to draw. She loves to paint. She loves to dance. She loves gymnastics. She loves sport. She just kind of loves. And, like, we've gone to Disney twice, last year and then this year, and she's both tall enough to ride the rides, and she's what's the word? She's suspended her disbelief with her trust, where she believes that the princesses and the characters are real.
Yeah.
And so, like, she's got that, like, daredevil, she'll ride anything, bravery, and then she's like, wait a minute, that's really Sleeping Beauty right there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get pixie dusted, and this
That's
is
sweet.
the best day of my whole life. And so it's really special, and she just like loves it being collaborative. She's kind of like, especially between the two of us, or like, she wants to do something that's collaborative. Like, Dad, can we draw? Can we build this together? She'll go to the studio, and she'll want me to record her singing and playing the drums.
Yeah.
She's got a ways to go, frankly, when it comes to, like, her like, she's, her rhythm, or
Yeah.
her pitch control or whatever, but she's just very free spirited, and does not, like, want to see if people like what she's doing. She wants to do it first. And I just love that about her.
Yeah. So she's still hitting the kick or the snare on the 1 and the 3. She hasn't figured out it's supposed to be on the 2 and the 4.
Dude, she's done neither.
She's in her own time signature. Got it.
She's extremely polyrhythmic, and
Yeah.
I can't wait to understand, because I love polyrhythm.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to figure out what she's been creating, because it's above my head already.
That just, I mean, music is a great way to say this also, though. Like, kids almost always speak in their own language. And it's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
great to try to understand, like, when you say, like, my son, who's about to be 4, will always just make up words and be like, oh, you're a tuta bubba. And I'm like, yeah, man, well, you're also a bubba bubba bubba. And see the smile in their eyes whenever they realize that, like, you're on the same level of them with whatever the
Yeah,
hell they're talking about is
yeah.
like, there's so many moments in which you look up and you're like, oh man, I'm so glad I get to experience this in my life today. This is so lucky. I hope I'm present for this moment because this moment won't always happen.
Dude, it's so true. One of the postures that I like to bring to Ellie is I like squatting down to, yeah, make eye contact with her at her level. I'll put my hand like on her face or her hand or her hip or whatever while she's talking with me, and just like ask her questions that get her to keep talking about the thing that she's wanting to talk
Yeah.
about. It, like sometimes she'll just be like, Daddy, do you know that this character does not have this? And you won't even believe what they just said. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I can't believe that right now. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
And she'll just get on a roll, and it means next to nothing to me
Yeah.
except that I'm engaging and learning how to hear from her,
Yeah.
and that is wonderful, and that's more than enough, and it's training me to be a better dad when she's got heartbreak or she's
Yeah.
going through hormonal changes, and I don't understand but I want to, and I do understand but not like her, and I'll never understand from her perspective. And so
Yep.
it's a lot of fun. It's a constant exercise and learning and trying to show up for her in ways that are suited for her and
Yeah.
not for me, I guess.
Yeah. Since you said you guys weren't necessarily planning on having a kid, did you ever expect yourself to become a dad, or was like becoming a dad part of the definition you ever saw for yourself?
So when I was in school at 18, 19 years old, had I finished college, I was going to pursue uh like becoming a teacher.
Okay.
And I was going to teach like at the elementary school level. And I ended up dropping out at 19, moving to Los Angeles and being a hired gun musician for an artist. And then like starting May and doing that whole thing. So being the oldest sibling, being the oldest cousin, I always loved connecting with kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then my ex and I got married right before I turned 28, and we didn't really see ourselves having kids. And honestly, I think that was just because, we're obviously not together now and haven't been together for almost 5 full years. I don't think that we were great partners together. I don't think we were in love, and I don't think that we were in sync. And that has to do with why we didn't see ourselves becoming parents together. And uh, I always saw myself being a good dad, and because of the relationship I was in, I had sort of come to the conclusion that I wasn't going to become one. And when ultimately we did find out that we were going to be parents, we had almost already decided that we weren't going to stay together.
Okay.
And so, um, I believe that one of the things she said to me, I hope this is okay for me to say that
Yeah.
I'm quoting her, in fact, was she thought that like us becoming parents was going to be the catalyst for our divorce inevitably.
Yeah.
And I think that she was maturely saying that we were already more disconnected in ways than we were connected, and
Yeah.
that having a child was going to make us see the inevitability of our separation because we owed it to a child to not partner together in marriage while trying to co-parent, if that makes sense.
It does. I know, for better and worse, I know other couples where once they had a kid, sometimes you figure out a way how to grow together through that. And sometimes it just makes you more aware of the ways in which you aren't as good of partnerships as you thought you were. And it's
Totally.
reality. It's reality. And the reality is that sometimes you look up and you're like, this is not a good definition of our relationship if we keep on going down this path. So we
Yep.
got to figure something else out.
Yeah. So she literally told me that the day that she told me that that she was pregnant.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it was, it was a beautifully hard day. And like, it also happened to be her birthday. And
Okay.
it also happened to be the day that I came home from a 2-week tour. And I had driven
Okay.
overnight. I want to say from like, it's hard for me to remember, but I want to say like
Yeah.
somewhere on the East Coast. So it's like,
Okay.
I got done with the show. I drove overnight to be there for her for the morning of her birthday. She told me she was pregnant, and then she told me that she thought that means perhaps inevitably
This
our
is next.
divorce.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'll never forget that day.
Yeah.
And like ultimately that was truly what was best for us.
Yeah.
We tried a little bit longer to stay together, and that was in October of 2018. Ellie was born in April of 2019, and we filed in October of 2020.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, the reality is that you can't really predict which way life goes. You can have inklings, you can have ideas, and it's good to know yourself so you can be honest with yourself where you are. And then that helps plot the course for whatever your next steps are. But man, it is freaking hard some days.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Before we end, I do want to make sure to give you a chance to promote the tour you're about to do, because I'm assuming most people this episode are fans of May and would love to know that you're about to go perform the Everglow. So if you want to talk about your upcoming tour and what all you got going on with that before I do like the 5 questions to end the episode.
Yeah, thanks for letting me do that. Well, I've lived in Nashville for 14 and a half years now, and I came out here
Mm-hmm.
to produce and engineer and songwrite and just like be literally in Music City. So Schematic Studios is the name of the studio that I've been building for over a decade. That's where I've made the last 2 May albums, and the one I'm uh, close to finish with now. It'll come out on Equal Vision Records as soon as they're ready to release it. It's called The Human Heart, and it's my first batch of songs I've written for May post being a dad and
Cool.
going through divorce and some of those things.
Yeah.
It's more honest and more emotive of songwriting that I've done on May's behalf in a really long time, maybe ever, just as I'm old enough to kind of
Mm-hmm.
have gone through therapy and shown up as a dad and been more aware of or maybe in control of my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions, and what to do with them and how to songwrite through them. But this fall, in fact, this year, our second album, The Everglow, turned 20 years old. And so we've got a full US tour that starts in Texas around September 18th, I want to say, that goes all the way until like December 9th. There are breaks here and there, but we're playing 34 shows across the US.
Nice.
Playing the Everglow from start to finish. We're playing with our friends in the band, the Spill Canvas. They're playing
Mm-hmm.
their second album of theirs. It's called One Fell Swoop, and we'll be all over the U.S. And tickets are on sale now. VIP tickets are on sale now, and it's like the most consecutive touring
Yeah.
that I would have done, like post COVID, post being a dad, etc. So I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm overwhelmed. I can't wait for it. I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's me and that's what I'm up to. So we've got a lot that's like current. We got a lot that we're celebrating in terms of, anniversary and stuff. And it's a really good time to be still making music
Yeah.
and to still be in May.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I've gone to a couple of those types of shows. Like I went and saw the Get Up Kids whenever they did something to write home about. And
So
like
rad.
the energy for those shows, it's so much fun because I'm not just like listening to an album I listened to 20 years ago. I'm in a group of people who are all there excited to hear every single song. And that energy of an entire room all excited for the same thing is so rare to come across. Like those type of shows are really fun to go to.
Totally. I saw, I guess one of the more recent ones I saw was the Death Cab Postal Service. They played their 20-year-old
Yes.
albums
Yep.
front to
Yep.
back. And as a huge fan of Ben Gibbard in general, I loved the energy. I saw it at Hollywood Bowl in LA. I saw it
Dude.
at Bridgestone Arena
Yep.
in Nashville. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience for sure.
Yeah, I was at the show in Bridgestone also.
Cool.
Yeah, the way just to nerd out a little bit, how good the live drums sounded on those Postal Service songs whenever Ben Gibbard got
Ooh,
behind the kit. I was like, this works
yes.
so much more than I ever thought it would have worked.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. I was a drummer in my first band. Drums mean the most to me.
Okay.
It's like usually, I mean, not like in the grand scheme of productions. Sonically, like I'm always wanting to get great drum sounds, and I build the productions based on drum sounds and think about drum sounds like as much as I think about vocal sounds, etc. And he's a great drummer, and those drum tones were sick.
Yeah. Well, I think one more nerdy thing. I'm pretty sure he used to play drums in Pedro the Lion, like whenever Pedro first started out, because they're both
No
Seattle-based
way.
band. I'm almost
Oh
positive
yeah.
that Gibbard played drums for Bazan, early iterations of Pedro the Lion. I will Wikipedia that
That's
later.
okay. Well, if it's not in there, just write it in.
Yeah, that's true. I forget how the internet works.
You can just say it, and it can be so.
Yep, that's right. But anyway, how we end every episode is we ask every guest a series of 5 questions. They're pretty lighthearted and they're pretty fun. So, and you have time to think about them. So the
Dope.
first question is, did you have any backup names for your daughter? Like, did you have any names you almost named her?
Yeah, so in fact, we had like the staff at the hospital telling us that our time was literally hours, maybe less than 2 hours away from wrapping up. And we could change the name, but we needed to hurry up and make a decision. And so I think Audrey was on the short list. And when she came out with a head rather, of blonde hair and eyes that she kept to be blue, for some reason we decided that Audrey was not going to be on the table any longer. And Ellie was a nickname before Elise was her given name.
Okay.
So Sting's daughter, Elliot Sumner, Eliot, was on the short list for me, being a Police fan, being a Sting fan, but not because of that, more because when you see that name on a resume or an application or whatever, you're going to assume maybe male, but you're not going to know. And so a sweet nickname like Ellie could be for a long form like Elliot. And seeing that that's what Sting named his daughter, that was really fascinating to
Cool.
me. Ellie's mom being from North Carolina, I think Charlotte was on the short list. I've never been a fan of like on the nose names being a musician. Like I don't like going to studios where there's like a painting of a guitar somewhere. Names that were not on the table were like harmony and melody and aria and some of those things, even though like I think they're beautiful names, but I really needed to make sure that wasn't the case. And I'm a massive Beatles fan, and there are countless Beatles songs that are, names from Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Martha, My Dear, Michelle, just countless names that are probably almost all female for the most part, at least.
Yeah.
And those were off the table because I love the Beatles too much to like then be upset with my daughter when she's 13 and like she's hating her dad for a season and doesn't want to talk to me, and I just like can't listen to that Beatles song for a minute without getting like emotional. So, but yeah, there were several.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Also, she was born in April, and her mom went to UNC for undergrad, and so like it was March Madness, and so we had like a bracket of I think 64, if not like maybe 32 names that we would write for each other, and we would seed and everything. And then I would hand her my bracket, she would hand me hers, and I would like eliminate and have a final four and everything. So like
That's awesome.
it was surgical, it was procedural, and it lasted a lot longer than even like the staff of the hospital felt comfortable with, and we had to like really commit.
I've never thought of doing a bracket for names or like ranking them. Be like, hey man, this is my number 1 seed. If this one goes down, it's got to go to. You've got to give me a good reason why this one goes down. That's awesome.
Oh.
So also, what I'm hearing here is that if you somehow had a son, you wouldn't name him Rhythm. Like Rhythm also isn't a name you would ever name a kid.
I would not. I wouldn't name him Rhythm. I wouldn't name him Paul, John, George, or Ringo. I wouldn't name him Tom York. I wouldn't name him.
Would you just name him the Walrus, and that would be that's the only one you'd accept?
I give him the nickname of the
Yeah,
walrus,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I hope he wouldn't have an overbite and feel like I was picking on him. That's for sure.
That's awesome. I'll if you ever have a second kid, I'll make sure to keep track of the name. Next question. What's
Okay.
your least favorite kids show? Like whenever your daughter goes to watch it, you're almost like, can I leave the room? I hate this show so much.
Yeah, I do. And the fact that we dropped signal for a second and I have to repeat this is unbearable.
Yes.
In and of itself. So Blippy is by far the worst like kids show experience that I've ever known. And there was a long
Yeah.
summer where Ellie was a little bit hooked on Blippy and his YouTube shows and his songs. And I am going to repeat it. And I mean it even more now
Yeah.
than I meant it when we got disconnected. You didn't hear this part, but I'm grateful. Just very smallly, like a small part of my gratitude for therapy has to come that that would have pulled me into a depression. Listen to some of those like awful songs and those terrible direct to camera videos where he just like goes to a like an indoor playground and like says everything that he's doing and like
Yeah.
oh it was depressing, it was miserable, it was awful. Blippy is the worst.
I'm you don't narrate your life whenever you go do stuff. You don't like say out loud to yourself, I am turning left now. Dave is turning right. Dave has missed his turn. You don't that's not how you go through your days.
I don't know how I made the decision, but no, it's not what I've been doing.
That's what we've been missing this whole time is just constant narration.
I've been missing it, and that guy is like worth a ton of money and
He is.
and billions of YouTube views. I
Yep.
don't get it, but I mean,
I don't either.
I see how it's made him who he is. But yeah, it's awful.
Yes. Yep. I can't. We've never let our kids watch Blippy. I don't think they know Blippy exists. And if you mention to my kids that Blippy exists, I will never forgive you.
You know, I'll say like really briefly that like that's sort of like the curse of being a single dad is like sometimes you just all of a sudden stumble upon the thing and you're doing it with your kid.
Yeah.
And like if they take to it and you're in the middle of something, you just kind of like let it go. And then you're just like, wait, I've made a terrible mistake and I'm kind of stuck with it because if I turn this off, she's going to cry and ask me why we're not watching Blippy right now. And I don't know what I'm supposed to say in this moment. So like I should have asked a friend, you know, I should have phoned a friend and be like, hey, what's this Blippy thing? Do you know anything about it? And if someone could say, please don't watch that, I would have been very grateful for that bit of information. But I hear you. I don't ever want anybody who has kids younger than me to witness Blippy if they can help it.
Yep. Well, also like you can't like your kids will also reach an age where you can no longer say, yeah, we don't have that channel. In
Right.
which they know
They
what
know.
streaming service everything's on. So like I can't lie to my kids anymore. I can't be like, we want to watch Jesse. I'm like, we don't have Jesse. And they're like, it's on Disney Plus. I know we have Disney Plus. And I'm like, I hate your friends.
I know Jesse.
Damn stupid smart kids.
Yep.
Next question. Do you have a go-to replacement curse word or do you just say the curse word?
Ooh. I have noticed that I've said the curse word where she's not around, but I realize that she hears everything and I need to stop and check myself immediately. So I want to say that like 90-ish% of the time I'm thoughtful and those words don't come out. And then I'm like, sometimes like, oh man, I just said that. I'm sure that you heard it. And I think I just like am grateful that she doesn't know that word. And I'm like in that still kind of naive, safe space.
Yeah.
She's naive and I'm lucky that she's not like, what is that word? What does that mean? And I'm not saying it like around her so closely that like we need to have a conversation, but I need to watch myself. That's for sure.
It's the worst whenever they learn how to read and then like they'll read a word like if I take my daughters to the bathroom and then they'll read their graffiti on the walls and like, what's this word mean? And I'm like, just it means a conversation I didn't think I'd have today. What else you got?
Yep.
So it's fun. next question, what's one of your favorite activities or toys that you get to play with your daughter?
Ooh, I guess it just has to be selfishly because it's not me doing it. I never suggest it. It's only her. She wants me to turn the microphones on and she wants to record stuff at the studio. And
That's so cool.
so yeah, that's like adult playland for me, but she thinks that she's calling the shots and she's in charge and I just get to hear whatever ridiculousness she comes up with. So the studio, like that's a fun thing for her so far.
That's awesome. And then the last question is, what's like a moment of your daughter's life you're most excited to be a part of, or you're hoping to like witness her achieve in her life?
Ooh, that's so good. I've honestly always kind of been a forward future thinker when it comes to her. So she can be cute and sweet and adorable and, say things incorrectly in her younger years and, like have a little bit of a baby accent. But I've always talked to her like an adult and I've always looked forward to the next thing. So I think that I enjoy being present with her and like these days she's 6, she's newly 6. She wants to be 5. She had a little bit of a breakdown like a month or so ago where she wasn't using her words kindly or respectfully. And I told her that she's 6 now and she's more responsible and she needs to be kinder and be more responsible with her words. She had this breakdown about, wanting to be 5, not wanting to be having, new responsibilities, maybe some chores,
Yeah.
things like that. And I think that it's really, some people struggle with like, like the stage where you're not getting sleep when they're young and, the feedings and things like that. And then there's the stage where they're really sweet and cute and adorable and fun. I think for both of us, I look forward to the preteens and the teenage years because I know that that's going to be a challenge. Parenting a girl and knowing what I was like as a teenager, only imagining what she's like. She's a Taurus. She's like super emotive.
Yeah.
She's like a firecracker. She's got a lot of explosion within her emotional identity. And I want to be able to, be the same kind of dad that I am when she's easy and fun and sweet, when she's a handful and a hormonal, emotional basket case. I want to be able to show up for her. And I know that's going to be really hard. And so I don't expect anything less than that difficult season, but I want to get through it with her and I want to be there for her. So yeah, I'd say like the hard part is like something that I'm what's the word? I'm like the masochist in me is
Yeah.
go ahead and figure that out, dude, because it's inevitable. It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's like I feel like those big moments, you want to be like, how do I make sure to be like a good version of myself and not just reactive? Like, how do I stay grounded in this moment? Because what you're going to need in this moment is someone who's grounded because everything else is going to feel out of control. So how do I want to be prepped for that moment. I want to be here for it because those are really important moments that you don't want to mess up.
Absolutely. Yep. So just bring it and I'll be when she's 6. So when she's 12, I'll be almost 50. So
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be calmer, more collected and more present. So that way I can not be a basket case to her for her.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe later in a different phase of like get her through her until she's like out of the house. Then you can go to be a basket case in some way, right?
I hope not, but possibly.
I hope not, right? Yeah. Well, Dave, the only other thing I have for you is just like moment for self-promotion. You already said you're going on tour. Like if we want to follow your Instagram, if we want to keep up with you, what's a good way to do that?
Yeah, if you just search Dave Elkins on Instagram, if you search Dave Elkins online, you'll find my website where I'm producing and commissioning music, and that's the thing I do on the side, which is a whole lot of fun. Is
Yeah.
I get commissioned to write songs for people for special occasions, for film, for experiences, stuff like that, and so I keep myself really busy. Schematicstudios.com. Whatismay.com. I don't think it's DaveElkins.com. It might be like Dave-Elkins.com. But
Okay. Yeah.
if if you just search Dave as opposed to David Elkins, Dave
Okay.
Elkins, May, and Schematic Studios, you'll find what I'm up to on any social media platform, anywhere online that you can find me. I'll be there.
Do you go through the service? Is it Downwrite? Is that the one where like you can kind of find musicians who will write music for you?
Yeah, so that's DOWNWRITE.com. And if you search my name, you can find me that way. And that's a great platform. And I do a lot of commissions that way.
Sweet. I know I'm a big Get Up Kids fan, and I know Matt Pryor does a lot on there. Yep. So that's how I know it exists.
We had a Downright showcase at South by Southwest.
Cool.
Last year, so like a year and a half ago, and he and I sat side by side with a few other singer-songwriters, and it was rad. Jonah from Far and a few others. But yeah, Matt does that, and he's really successful with it. And I love that you're a Get Up Kids fan. I very much am. And we May took out New Amsterdam's like years ago.
Cool. Nice.
And he had his family with him. He was a dad of two young ones, and had his wife on tour. I was a different stage in my life, and of course, as was he. But it was really cool in hindsight now to think about touring with Matt Pryor and being a dad on the road back then. Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, man. Perfect. No, thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I really appreciate your time. Nice to be able to meet you and get to know you a little bit, Dave. All right.
Yeah, thank you, Devin.
All right, cool. We'll see you next time. All right, Dave.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Imperfect Dads Podcast, and make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us, such as Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. The music is provided by The Wild Feathers, and all episodes are produced by me. Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.